For the very first time, ICT is set to play a major role in Kenya's electoral process. Join me as we discuss this more in depth with Commissioner Mohamed Alawi of the IEBC.
Inaleta mabadiliko na mbinu mpya za uchaguzi yenye wadhifa wa mipaka. Chagua Kenya unayoitaka, usirudie yale makosa.
Welcome.
Thank you.
Commissioner Mohamed Alawi. Habari yako?
Mzuri.
You feeling good today?
I'm good and fine.
Yes, it's good to have you on the show. Let's begin by addressing some questions that arose out of last week's show. And the first one was somebody asked, what will voter education entail? If you could just give us a quick summary.
Voter education entails passing the necessary information to make sure that voters understand their rights, to make sure that the voters understand the political system, to make sure that the voters understand the context in which they are asked to decide, to know when, how, and when to exercise their voting rights.
And of course, a show like this gives some of that information.
Yes, of course. Absolutely.
Okay, the second question, an interesting one. What happens if the court nullifies the entire boundaries delimitation exercise?
It could be important to realize that the delimitation exercise actually had phases, stemming from the public hearing, preparation of the report, submission of the report to Parliament, and one of the phases that was envisaged by the law was that persons aggrieved or persons who have different views will have to go to court and ask the court to review the decisions which were made. We did actually limitation of 1,450 words, 290. Yeah, we have so far only 89 cases.
Which is less than 10%.
Which is less than 10%.
So this will not really count.
Actually, it's not a reality. It's very remote that yes, the court may go that way. And probably the court will be asked to decide on specific areas which have been asked for by the members of the public for review.
Okay, quickly moving on, a very nice one. I have recently turned 18 years. Suppose I get my ID 1 month before the election. Will I still be able to register as a voter?
Vote registration is a continuous process under the new constitutional dispensation, yeah? But there's a requirement that 3 months before the election date that the voter registration must be compiled, inspected. And this is to enable members to make sure that they are properly registered, to make sure that members, they know where they are supposed to vote, and to make any corrections. So 3 months prior to the election date, it will not be possible to register as a voter.
But we'll have an opportunity to, in subsequent elections, to be able to vote.
And maybe I should also take this opportunity to urge young Kenyans to go and collect their national identity card, because we have engaged the Ministry concerned, and they say there are actually a number of identity cards which are lying, waiting for collection.
Okay, fair enough. I want us to get into the topic of the day, and today we want to discuss technology in the electoral system. And I want to invite you to have a seat, and then we can take it from there. Karibu Kiti.
Asante.
Welcome, Commissioner Alawi.
Thank you once again.
As we talk about the use of technology in the electoral process, you're using ICT in the registration of political parties, but we have already heard some parties complaining that some of their members are appearing in other parties' registers. How do you reconcile, those two pieces of information?
We have to appreciate the fact that for the first time, parties in this country are being asked to go to the ground and ask members of the public to register as party members. And the law is very clear that one cannot be a member of more than one party. In their recruitment, whereas the same people are being recruited again and again, and our systems actually document them as recruited by the parties which had earlier submitted their names in the register, then actually this one goes very far to show that we have a very effective system of record keeping, so that no one Kenyan can either be registered as a member of two parties or be registered twice as a voter.
But we had one particular party said their members have been registered and there's double registration. Is that so? What do you do with that?
Kenyans can decide to join as many parties as they want on the ground, but when it comes to proper recording and system, they have to be registered under one party. So actually, it's for those parties to sort themselves out, to make sure that they have genuine
Yes.
members. Yeah.
Yes. Okay, let's take some questions from the members of the public, evidently very interested in this process, and then we can answer those questions in a bit, if you will.
I want to know, will the IEBC use electronic voting in the coming general elections?
My question is this electronic voting system safe or it can be manipulated?
Well, there you have it. You had that first question. Will IEBC conduct electronic voting?
Voting is actually a geographical dispersed activities which need to be conducted within a shorter time frame, with very tight time frames. ICT is one of the technology that has been adopted to make sure that we have an efficient system of election. It is important to know that there are actually a number of activities where we are going to employ ICT. There is what we call BVR, that is biometric vote registration. That is one phase. The second phase could be electronic voting. The third phase could be transmission of results by way of electronic. IBC has made a conscious decision to adopt registration of voting. The actual voting will be manual, the counting will be manual, but subsequent transmission of the results will be done electronically.
Okay, so the registration is electronic.
It's electronic, yes.
The vote counting is manual.
It's manual.
And the transmission
Is electronic.
So that we don't confuse that there will be electronic voting.
Yeah. Actually, maybe it will be good to say that electronic voting, where it's practiced, people just go and push a button. Yeah, we are not going to have that kind of system. Kenyans will go registered electronically using their biometrics. They have 10 fingers. When they get into the polling station, there will be what we call a polling book. Yeah, and this is a computer tab which will identify that this is the person who actually voted, who actually registered, and then he will be issued with a vote. This aspect is manual, where he'll be issued with a vote, we'll mark it, insert it into the relevant box. It will be counted. After counted, the results now will be transmitted now to the tallying centers, both at the county level and at the national level electronically.
Okay, we'll come back and talk about transmission a bit later.
Yes.
But let's answer this other one who asked, and it's a very legitimate question. Are Kenyans guaranteed of the technologies safety?
These technologies are used as one of the means to bridge the gap, in terms of delivery. But they are not actually standing on their own. There will be actually a process of documentation. When votes are counted, there will be a process of documentation and verification. When results are transmitted, there will be a process of verification and signature to make sure that the results are coming from the genuine point and they are actually in a very secure system. The chances of hacking are very, very, very remote. Because the process is not a standalone process. It's actually a process that is supported by other activities and other verification. And we also have a team of observers. We'll have a team of international observers, local observers, and political observers from political parties and even agents of parties and independent. So actually, this is just one of the means, but it's actually supported by others to ring fence it. To make sure that it's more secure.
Let's go to the diaspora. Are they voting in any different way than those of us who are going to be voting from Kenya?
Actually, the voting system will be uniform across. People will have to go to the polling stations, be identified, cast their vote, and then their votes will be now transmitted. The same way being transmitted from Washington, it will be transmitted from Turkana to the tallying centers. So actually, the system will be uniform.
Yes. When we talk about the safety of the transmission that will be happening, what happens if, for example, our GSM connection in Turkana, fails? How do we transmit those elections here?
When you're implementing a system of this for a very important activity, you always have a backup. Whereas we'll be actually relying on more than one system. We'll be probably also employing the satellite telephones in the transmission. So there'll always be a backup.
There'll always be a backup.
There'll be a backup. That if the first system fails, you have what we call a secondary way of relaying the same information.
Yes.
And for Kenyans, we have no reason to fear because we conducted our referendum. and where we use electronic transmission with a lot of success, to an extent that the NOC team considered 6 hours before the final results were announced, and this was a show of confidence that the system worked for this country. We've also employed the system in the subsequent by-elections with a very high degree of success. So it's a system that we have actually tested, farmed, and now we want to roll it out for the whole country. Yeah.
Well, you talked about 2010 referendum. What are some of the successes that you had in that referendum, and have you made any improvements in that process?
In fact, there are two things that actually emerged in that referendum. Number one, we tested the BVR, that is the biometric vote registration. And now we actually found how useful it was, that it actually eliminated the issues of ghost voters, dead voters, people coming from the cemetery to vote and then go back. So we actually learned a very big lesson from the referendum, and that's a carryover from the previous commission. It's a carryover which now we are rolling it for the entire country. Likewise, the vote transmission was tested to a very great success and admiration of Kenyans and people who are outside Kenyans, and we are now putting it in place. So actually the biggest lesson we learned was that the use of technology to ensure and enhance the integrity of the voting process.
When you talk about integrity, some of the things that we have seen happening is that you relay the results as they come in from the polling stations. Are those results that you relay final, or are those provisional results?
The results which are being relayed are streamed live. As soon as they're counted, they're being streamed live to the tallying center. That one actually bridges the gap. It removes the time for people to manipulate, and it actually ensures the integrity of those results. Once they are used actually to give what we call preliminary results.
Yes.
But the actual result now will be have to be confirmed by the documentation. But suffice to say that when Kenyans or people who have voted, they have a system that relays information in a very transparent manner, you actually get to the acceptance of the voters, which is very critical in any voting process.
Well, let's take a break, and we'll be back shortly to discuss this and more issues on Countdown with the IEBC.
Kenya unayoitaka usirudie yale makosa. Kenya unayoitaka usirudie yale makosa.
Welcome back to Countdown with the IEBC. Today we host Commissioner Mohamed Alawi. Commissioner, let's take it on from here. Let's take quickly two questions on this process of ICT in the electoral process, and then we can address those.
Will this new voting technology help in faster transmission of results after the voting?
Swali langu ningependa kuuliza ya kwamba hii teknolojia mpya ya uchaguzi nchi gani ambayo imetumiwa na ikafaulu?
Okay, indeed. You had those. I think you had addressed this, but if we can just go a bit deeper into it. Will the technology help with faster transmission?
As I had earlier said that electioneering is actually a geographically dispersed activity. We have Kenya is about 540,000 square kilometers with very remote areas where you can only reach them by earth roads. Some can only be reached by donkeys and by foot. So definitely electronic transmission will make it possible for the result transmission to be done faster than will have otherwise been done if we are to rely on a local mode of transmission. For Kenyans, they use M-Pesa with ease. They can transfer money from one end to the other. So actually, the electronic transmission of results will actually work as that fast.
In previous elections, I think almost 24 hours later, we know who the president is. We've got 6 offices we are now putting our vote for. What do you reckon will be the time frame by which we get to know who goes where?
The law says that we must be able to give the results within 7 days after the election.
Within 7 days?
7 days.
Mm-hmm.
Well, we actually, on our part, we are actually targeting 3 days. We should be able to tally and announce the result of the presidential election in the first 3 days.
In the first 3 days.
First 3 days, yes.
Well, there's been...
After the election. Yes.
After the election. And there's been talk of a possibility of a runoff. How does that sit in as far as your technology is concerned?
Actually, what is runoff? Runoff is whereby after the first election, it turns out that none of the candidate
had a simple majority.
Has failed to garner the 51% and the 25% in the 24 counties. Then we within 30 days after the first election, we'll be able now to do a second election as between those two people, the winner and the first runners-up.
That will be purely presidential?
Purely presidential, yes.
And so perhaps we would expect to have those results the next morning?
Even much faster.
Even
much faster.
Yes, okay. Has the technology being implemented elsewhere, or are you the guinea pig?
Actually, ICT has perforated in the human life in all forms, coming from the way we communicate, the way we do things world over. And as regards the electioneering, we had a seminar that was last month in Mombasa, where we had about 70 countries coming from Europe, Africa, Asia, where actually technology has been implemented with great success. So actually, we are not the guinea pigs, neither can we be said to be lagging behind. We are in the pack. And for us, I think we are actually on the right track, where we've decided that we are just going to have voter registration, voter identification, and and results transmission. I think we are on the right track.
On the right track. Can you just briefly talk about best practice? What has worked where?
If you look, one of the best we saw actually was coming from Cape Verde. The beauty of their system is that actually the whole country is actually, they've got an e-government. So they've got the civil registry connected with the voter registry, which is not the case in this country. And it became very easy for them to do the voting and the counting, and actually they went the whole log.
So even the voting was electronic? Even the voting
itself was electronic, yes. But it's a very small country. Yes. With small countries, they say it's easier to turn a small canoe round than to turn a bigger ship. So we are actually turning our ship round. And Kenya, the challenge that we have, they don't have. We have a big area that is not even covered by the GSM. They don't have those kind of, because it's almost like a two-town country. But then you can actually see it. Those who can call them guinea pigs in the real sense, where they have the ICT infrastructure well developed, in their country, high literacy rate and all that. But we are bullish that we are going that way, and with the support of Kenyans, we are going to deliver an election that will be ICT facilitated to a large extent.
And we look forward to that. Can I register as a voter online?
Voter registration requires taking biometrics, where that means that you have to go to a registration center and have your 10 fingerprints taken and your picture taken. So that one you cannot do it online, because you may not be having the palm reader with your computer in your house. Yes. So you actually have to present yourself at the registration center.
Okay. In past elections, we were able to access the voter register to know if, as an individual, whether I am there. How is it going to be done this time? How do I access? And I'm saying this, of course, in relation to technology.
What's going to happen is that the law requires us to compile and exhibit the vote register 3 months before the election date. That one is an undertaking that we have to do. And it also helps people to see whether they were properly registered or not. What will happen, we are going to have voters going back to the polling stations, The register will be taken back to all the polling stations so that voters can go back there and see whether they are properly registered, they are in the right names and in the right polling station. So it's going to be a nationwide exercise for people to actually go and confirm. At the same time, we'll be able to put the register in our website.
Correct me if I'm wrong, but I think the last time during the referendum, we were able to send a text to a certain number and confirm if we're on that register.
That is feasible, and any good thing that we've learned, we're going to carry over. So actually, in addition to what we're going to do, using the mobile phone, using the polling station, the registration station, using a website. So you'll have a multitude a way of actually accessing the information.
Talking about ICT, technology changes very fast. And 1 year it's here, and the next year you're actually lagging behind. And we are also aware that you're spending enormous resources to go the technology way. How do you justify those resources in an industry that is very fluid, that in the next 2 years we might be seeing something different?
Whereas technology moves very fast. Actually, you buy the technology that serves you well. You don't need to move into a newer technology merely because you want to be on the cutting edge of the technology. For as long as you can be sure that the technology that you have employed and have bought serves you well, that is the technology that we are going to use. And whatever we are buying now and putting in place now will be used for subsequent elections and thereafter. And whereas the technology moves, once you buy the infrastructure of the technology, what remains is just what we call upgrading. You can actually upgrade the technology to make it catch up at a lesser cost than buying every time when the new technology comes in. Yeah, for any organization that have bought a system, they have to do maybe system upgrade after 3 or 4 years or 5 years. And in the purchase of the technology, those are some of the things that you actually negotiate and make sure that you have system upgrade as part of the price that you're paying for. Yeah.
What are some of your fears as a commission as regards this whole embracing of technology?
Everything has a challenge. Everything has a challenge. But to say you have no fear at all is actually not being smart. Yeah. But what we're looking forward is to have Kenyan accept the use of the technology. Is actually the acceptance that is the most important thing, and we need to inform and engage Kenyans more to understand how the technology works and how it can serve them well. Yeah. So what we need is actually to educate the masses on how it can work, how it's working, and how it can serve them. Yeah.
Well, this is cutting edge, and as we bring this to a close, I noted the other day that you had advertised very many positions in the newspaper on IT, looking for IT professionals to come and join the commission. Are you well prepared? Do you have the capacity to execute this in terms of intellectual capacity?
Kenya has moved through phases of generations, from the whole generation, the independent generation. We are now actually in Y generation, people who are electronic savvy, people who are using the gadgets and all that. We have enough manpower in this country. Yeah, young people who are used to this technology. So we do not foresee any hitches in terms of manpower. Yeah, and we have support from the government and the Kenyans that we should deliver an election that can make Kenyans proud and make this country move forward. So we do believe that, yes, we are going to do it.
Commissioner Mohamed Alawi on technology in the electoral process. As always, we are glad that you are joining us and watching this show, and we look forward to having your feedback on our Facebook and Twitter and our email, which is info@iebc.or.ke. Kindly remember to indicate on your feedback where you are coming from and your name so that we can be able to address you specifically and the issue that you bring on board. Commissioner, thank you very much for coming onto the show and enlightening us, and we hope we can have you again.
Asante, Efi.
Yes. And I've been your host, Efi Hunja. We'll see you next time.
Za uchaguzi yenye wadhifa wa mipaka, chagua Kenya unayoitaka, usirudie yale makosa.